Good. Okay, guys, welcome to this short introduction to this project that we are going to be doing. It's essentially we're going to be using Python to collect data from the internet, and that process is called web scraping, right? So what we're going to do here is we are going to go through, let me lay down the context. We are going to go to an online shop and collect product information. When I say product information, I mean the prices, product price, the product name, the weight, and that type of information. And we're going to now build an application like a price comparison tool, right? So the end goal is to have an application where we can see the price change of some of these selected products, right? And then we can use this in our, how do we call it now? Budget planning for food or products, or I want to say food, I want to say, yeah, just for your budget planning, for your, as inflation goes high and we're having this increase in all this cost of living crisis all over the world. I think this is a tool that would be helpful for some people to better plan how they spend their money and to ensure that their money is maximized, right? As much as possible. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to use Python, and we are going to be scraping from an online store. We're going to start off with Woolworths here in South Africa, and then as we get into the next version, we'll add other stores, right? So here's just an background on what web scraping is. Essentially, you write a bot or a script that automates the collection of data from the internet, right? And there's this whole process that you follow. So when you collect the data, it's all over the place, all over the internet, and then what we do then is we take it from disorganized formats and we manipulate it, and then now do some transformations and store it in an organized format. This can now be stored in either a database or in some Excel spreadsheets locally. What we intend on doing is storing this on a server, right? So all of this will be done from a server. We'll have a script that runs this data collection in a, how do I call it now, every couple of weeks in that type of format. And all of this will be hosted on a server, and it will now be stored on a database where we'll be able to pull all this information and feed it to our front end or user-facing front end, right? Or user-facing interface. And then, yeah, so that's our application. All right, so we'll be building a custom project to scrape information from Woolworths website, right? And let's get into it. So the initial aim of this project was like to show how Python can be used for web scraping. But like I mentioned, with this whole cost of living, or the rising cost of living affecting consumers all around the world, I thought that it would be great to have sort of like a tool where consumers can perform price comparison, right? There's other tools around there on the market already, but I think it's always, when you're learning Python, and it's always good to like build something that is quite useful, right, and solve a problem. So I think this is one of those type of situations, right? So like I mentioned here, the first version, we're going to just do Woolworths, and then we're going to add other stores, and right, like with Checkers and South African Macro, and these are all stores based here. Most of them are based in, well, all of them are based in South Africa, but I think Woolworths is in and ShopRite and Macro can be, I think, in other places in Africa. In the SADC region, I know Woolworths could be in Australia and England or the UK, but nevertheless. So essentially, this is the process that we'll be going for the collection of the data. We're going to have some data collection. We're going to then process it, then we're going to store it. Then I have like this batch job. So what I mean by the batch job, that we're going to do this every couple of days. So we're going to run this, we're going to schedule this task to do this whole process. So that our data continues to grow, so that we can now have like a chart where we can now see the price change in our products. Okay, so bear with me. This is going to be quite a long one, but it should be quite useful. So this is the data collection aspect components of this pipeline, right? And if you look down here, I'm just stating essentially the algorithm that we'll be following. We're going to obtain a URL from the page. For the page to be scraped, we're going to inspect that page. So this is just the basic flow that you would do for whenever you're scraping a project, doing a web scraping project, right? So 1 to 6, and then we're going to be using Selenium, right? This is an automation tool that we can use to scrape the internet. We can also use it to perform actions on the internet, right? So you can write a Selenium script to act like a user, where the person can log into a site and start liking posts or commenting on posts. And I'm not sure about commenting on posts, but I know you can like a post. I'm not sure about commenting, but I'm sure it can be done. And if you can think of it, it surely can be done. There's a way. All right. So So we're gonna script the URLs, right? So using Selenium, and then we're gonna store them in a pandas, right? Data frame, and then from there, we're gonna write that to a CSV on our machine or our server, and then we're now going to use Beautiful Soup to now pass through each of these images, right? So I'll show you this. We're gonna build this together, right? So I'll be going through this. I'll be jumping back and forth between this page and our Visual Studio Code. So let's jump into Visual Studio Code and get writing some code. All right. So this is the plan. This is the bare bones plan. It's always good to start with a plan before you start jumping into code. You've got to plan it out and then write some code. Right. But let's go to Visual Studio.